All right, welcome back, everybody. And now I know it's been a while, but I've been working on these for a long time. Today we're gonna be talking about the beast people that inhabit the world of my story. And starting off, we have what are called the Komaho. So, um, as I'm sure I think I stated this in the first episode with Mor'kamen. Mor'kamen is a so it's based off the Korean version of the kitsune, as people often know it as, or the gumiho. That's what it's called in Korean, and it in Korean it's unique from the other versions of the same creature in that it seems to be a lot more violent than in other versions. Like I think I understand like the kitsune is more of a trickster rather than like an actual monster, but I don't really know. But the Korean version is a lot more violent. Like it has the same transformation, the same like shape shifting ability as the kitsune. Well, I guess as the whole thing, but they use it in order to lead young men away to eat their livers. But anyways, I did kind of decided to move away from that. Um, Kind of more just to be a little more unique. And I sort of kept the name, but I corrupted it a little bit, so now it's Komaho rather than Kumiho. And I wrote it in Morhanite, in the Morhanite language here too. Komaho. And I guess I should explain a bit about the creation of these beast people. There's three of them. You have Komaho, which are fox people, Ardaho, which are dog people, and uh, Nakaho. Nakaho are cat people. And they're all unique in certain ways. And I guess we'll start off with Kamen here. So, Kamen, she is a descendant. She's obviously a Komaho. And she kind of represents what a more humanized version of the cursing looks like. So, I guess let's just go back to the very beginning. All right, and I drew this little graph here about the timeline. So, after the creation of the world and the creation of man, roughly 1,000 years later, there was three cities, and they were extremely powerful, very advanced, and each of them kind of they started doing some not so wholesome 100 things, And see, in the case of the Komaho, what the people were doing were they were doing cannibalism. Yes, that's what it was. They were like eating children, and not like out of necessity. They were doing it for fun. And so then, when the time came, it was actually Han Kanata who cursed them. Because normally, how it's supposed to be, since Han Kanata is at the very top of everything, then it goes to her husband, Roken Hamadi. Normally, Roken, he does everything by her will. But Han Kanata, instead of having her husband do it, as had always been done before, she sort of jumped the gun and cursed them herself, which is very out of character for her because she is supposed to be the embodiment of mercy and patience. And ironically, it was her who lost her patience first. And she basically cried out to the world, "If you will act as the fox, then you shall be as the fox." And so it was. And now Roken, because he's also a god, he knew this was going to happen. And so he did the normal thing he usually does. He sends the prophets in, hear you, the end is near, all that all that preachy stuff. And he did that, and they had 1 month for basically everyone to escape. And this happened in all 3 of the cities. And I'll explain what the other 2 were. But it was kind of the same story as the Komaho. Why is this here? I'm sorry, I'm distracted. She said, to one city, if you will be as the cat, then you shall be as the cat. If you shall act as the dog, then you shall be as the dog. And many people escaped, and they were not cursed. But there were quite a few who remained, and they were cursed to be as animals. And the cursings, they exist in a spectrum, and it usually depends on how. What is it? Like, the cursing slowly fades away over time. Like Common here, she is towards the later end of the spectrum, where she's more human than she is animal. However, she still does retain some of the characteristics, such as claws, sharp teeth, and the ears. She also has a tail, and that's what the purpose of this bluish shawl here, but I didn't want to draw that because that made me uncomfortable. I don't need my start on for affinity to start today. But yeah, that's about it. And with these cursings, they were also given unique powers in order to facilitate the sin, which is kind of a low blow when you think about it. But the Komaho, they were given the ability of shapeshifting. See, they can, if they know what they're doing, they can make objects. They can either turn themselves or other objects into other things. And the idea is that, like, they'll turn themselves into very beautiful people to lead people away to eat them. And that's the idea. And I go, what are some other characteristics about them? Let's see. So, Komaho tend to be quite, personality-wise, they're very normal. However, they are quite quick to anger, and they can be quite impulsive too. Like in English, like in our world, we may say, "Don't mess with a beehive," right? But in the context of this world, the similar idiom would be, "Don't tease a Komaho," because they are quick to lash out. And impulsive as well. Now, the other thing that's unique about the Komaho is that blood tastes extremely sweet to them. Yeah, like Mor'kamen, because of his unique blessing, and the fact that he's even farther on the spectrum than his mom is, so he's even more human. He did not know what blood tasted like for most of his life until a certain incident in the story where he tastes it and he realizes what it is. And actually, wait, he does taste some early on in the story, but he doesn't know what it is. He thinks it's just some potion by what's his name? The stranger that comes to him. I haven't showed you him yet. I kind of don't want to spoil him because I think he's cool. But so yeah, he tasted blood, but he doesn't know what it is, and he was explained how to use the power. And the power for each variety extends. No, the what's it? The power of the curse's power gets stronger the more they embrace the cursing. So, like Mor'kamen, because he doesn't quite know the severity of the situation that he's in, he basically goes full Komaho. And it's an extremely painful process. Like, the more you embrace the sin, the more the more you become as the animal. And it's generally noted that populations that attempt to try to forsake the sin that their ancestors were cursed with, they tend to look more human over time. And that extends on with the children as well, until eventually, the whole population is completely normally human again. And now I guess with progenation, with all of them, like between a regular human and a member of the cursed, the child, they can always have children. But the cursing will always be passed on. And now, if you have two different kinds of the cursing, two parents with different cursings, the parent with the strongest cursing takes precedent in the child. And that's kind of a popular way for some populations in order to get rid of their cursing, because they know they can completely annihilate the cursing outright by I guess having children with a person with a stronger cursing. Although I guess that probably isn't exactly a good thing, because now the child just inherits a stronger cursing. That's kind of dumb. And now I guess that's all that I can think about for the Komaho. And I'm going to make more videos for the two other cursings, and I'll explain about them. But I guess in general, what are people's perceptions? What are regular people's perceptions on these people? And now, because the world is so big and so vast, opinions on them differ wildly. Generally, they're not exactly seen very positively, especially the Komaho, because they're cannibals. And you wouldn't let your children anywhere near a cannibal, right? So, yeah, Komaho are usually either banished in, I guess, better cases, or they will be killed outright. And that was kind of the case with Kamen here. The Morhanites are a bit of an outlier when it comes to the beast peoples, and that they're very, I guess, empathetic to them. And so, Mor'kamen's dad, Kamabek, he was sent to the land where Kamen lived. And how the Morhanite church works is that, so the father and the firstborn son, or the first son born to them, they have the extreme power, the great power, like that Mor'kamen has, the strength of 1,000 men. And then all the boys after that, they get sent out to be in charge of other congregations elsewhere. And that was the case with Kamabek, because he was the second son behind his brother, Munkerbek. But as we know, Munkerbek, or I guess I don't know if I've explained this or not, but Munkerbek is killed later on, and so Kamabek inherits the power. But anyways, during Kamabek's time in charge of the congregation near, or I guess where Kamen lived, it was they were very focused on converting the Komaho that lived there. This is a common thing with Morhanites, and that's actually kind of why a lot of people don't like Morhanites, because they tend to be more lenient when associating with the beast people. And eventually they got married, and Mor'kamen was born. However, when it was discovered that, like that the leader of the congregation had a child with a Komaho, the local government kind of freaked out, and so it came to be that most of the Komaho in that region were exterminated. However, coming back, he was able to escape with like a newly born Mor'kamen, and they fled back to the land of the Morhanites. However, at that point, she had just been born, and like trying to escape with a poor lady who was completely exhausted after the process. It wasn't thought that she was going to make it. However, she embraced her cursing by eating what's the thing after a baby's born, the placenta. She ate Mor'kamen's placenta in order to regain her power of transformation, and so she turned into a bug and escaped. And so she lived. However, she didn't know if Kamabek made it because he was a pretty high value target. However, he made it nonetheless. And that's kind of the story of what happens. And I guess that's about it for the Komaho, for Common, and for the Beast People. And I'll get on to the other ones in just a second here.